Que la famille. Que la famille.
Verónica, and I'm the CEO of Didimo, and I'm delighted to be here today. Thank you, Alice, and the team at the family for inviting me. I must confess that I don't see anyone, so I hope all this goes right. And I thought I will just start with my 2011 big moment that changed the way I would do research in my life and what I was doing at the University of Porto. So in 2011, this little kid, Joao, and his father came to my research lab at Porto University, and he suffered from severe autism. He could not really draw or express emotions or talk to his, very well with his family and friends. And so he would use this application that we created, just completely experimental, to draw and mimicking facial expressions on digital characters. And after some time, a very magical moment happened. He started to smile, and we managed to capture that moment. And what was remarkable about this day was actually that his father asked if he could use the tablet to communicate with his son. So before that, I was doing computer graphics research for the university for film and game companies. And suddenly I realized how a digital character in the right context could actually change the life of someone and a family. So if we think about it, we are born to be connected. Every 60 seconds, people around the world are trying to connect, sending text messages, tweets, Snapchats, emails, creating YouTube videos. We are all the time trying to connect, and the digital space and the digital world has grown significantly. So the big question for me is there such a way that we can create this digital world and these digital connections more human, right? So that's my big revelation moment at the university. So let me, before I continue with that, put you this big question, right? Is what is an idea? Is it an idea our purpose in life, or can an idea turn into your purpose in life? So it's for me, it's a very big question that took a long time to find an answer, and for that to walk you a little bit on the way I evolved ideas into an actual company, which is Didimo. I have to even go further back. So let me present you myself. So as I said, I'm Veronica. I'm an optimist engineer. I'm a dreamer. I love skiing. And people says I have no fear. But I do know one thing about me, which is I have very clear which my priority in life is my family and my kids. And having that very clear in myself helps you draw the line on and keep the balance into what is important and what is not important. So that's kind of like the North Star of keeping me sane is my family. And if I go even further back, I would say that everything that lead to where I am today started with the schooling system, right? So I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate of being able to go to school in Argentina. I then finished my high school in the US at the age of 16, 17. I was in the US. So that led that when I came back to Argentina, I finished my school before everyone else, about 6-8 months before. So I was at home because no one wanted me at school because I was a troublemaker. And my parents said, you just got to go find a job because university is only starting like 8 months from now. So I did try the McDonald's, the Dunkin' Donuts. That wasn't really a good idea. I did then try to go to the UN in Buenos Aires. I couldn't get in either. But I did know I was going to study engineering. So I thought, okay, why not try to apply to the biggest company in Buenos Aires back then, and software engineer, which was IBM, right? So I was very fortunate of start bringing together all this schooling with what I call the enduring, right? The enduring part, which is I went from high school, university, masters and PhDs in computer graphics to simultaneously being able at the age of 18 to start working at IBM. And I will try to be brief and tell you how I got my job at IBM. As you can see, the story ends up well because it tells a lot about my personality and my values, right? So I was 18 as 18, 17, as I said, and I went to IBM to say if I could actually work there. So I walk into this 21 stores building, and I said I'm going to go to human resources, and they're like, no, you just can't go in there. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. As I didn't have anything else to do, I just pretty much stay hanging around outside the building until I figure out that if you just deliver pizza, you could actually go into the building. And so I did get or food, right? I did get a pizza. I did go to human resources, and um, I took my pizza and I got in. And then I was very lucky because the manager of human resources walked me in, but he says, we don't have jobs for someone that doesn't know anything. And I was like, I know English because I studied in the US. And he gave me his business card. I'm 45, so back then there was like no internet, no Google, no Wikipedia, nothing of that. There was a phone number. So this is the power of calling people. So I start calling and calling until he said, well, I'm going to start giving you some interviews. And I started going one interview after the other. And in every interview, I would just get rejected. So at least I went to 8 interviews, but I never give up. And finally, I end up going to one more interview, and who ended up being my manager, he says, give me your curriculum. And again, I did change strategy. So that's the key thing. It was like they're never giving up, and they're trying to find new ways on how to get to my goal. And so I said, I don't have a CV. Here is an envelope, and now I would really appreciate if you could fill it in with knowledge. And he was awesome, and he said, you can start next week on Monday. And I started IBM. So all my 5 years of engineering were working at IBM, and that gave me an understanding of knowledge is not enough, right? You need to know how to communicate. You need to know how to work as a team. You need to have, this critical thinking, like a ton of things. You just need to learn things that are useful and for a purpose. So that's how I got my first job, and never again I had to look for a job, fortunately. And then after that, well, long story short, ended up at Ericsson, Patagonic, film companies, and moved to Europe when a huge crisis in Argentina happened. And I started master degrees in video game design and development. So then I got offered a PhD, which I never thought you get paid for studying, only in Europe. So very fortunate of that. And after my PhD, I got a teaching position at the university. So I started doing research on digital characters. I spent about a year and a half trying to look for problems that were worth solving. And then it took me about another year and a half to actually solve the actual problem, which was an algorithm of 20 lines of code. So when I started my PhD, I said I want to automate the full character creation process of digital characters. And I failed miserably in that task. What I did accomplish was solving one piece of the puzzle on how you create digital characters. And then when I started my research lab at the university with a ton of PhD students and master's students, we continue working on creating a character system that could actually be automated. So one algorithm after the other, improving the different areas of digital characters. Until in 2016, we created a company. So yes, you can see, you have the school and the enduring, and that can take you very far away, right? But there's one other element that at least I consider very important that kind of like closes the cycle, which is being able to understand right? So it's the understanding piece, is the being able to look around what we have, who we are, and how we are one tiny particle in this big universe, and see the needs around us. And that was what happened in 2011 with the story I told you about this kid with autism. He changed the way I did research, and he changed the way I would look into life, because suddenly for me it was all about solving very difficult problems. And then it wasn't anymore about just solving difficult problems, it was about solving difficult problems for someone, right? And it's kind of like I feel I've been trained throughout the years for that specific moment, right? Because again, if I backtrack a little bit, and you can see from the images, all the way while I was studying and working, I was able to be, for instance, a skiing instructor in the US, where I learned that teaching skiing wasn't important. What was more important was just to make sure that the people that was coming to learn with me were having fun. When I was in Patagonia just for 26 days, just exploring Patagonia by myself, and I had to have the courage to learn who I was and just to learn to be alone. Or when I lived for a few months in American Indian Reservoir, and you see a completely different culture, or just literally traveling with my family and my friends. So it's about how can you open your eyes and see the needs around you, and how you can impact the life of others. And I think that the reason I'm telling you a little bit about my story is so hopefully you can start seeing little points that slowly get together, right? So it was all the grit I had by finding a new job, and that identifies me very well. Being courageous, to face uh, the face the moment of creating something that no one else had done before, which is building a full automated pipeline of digital characters. That's really complex. And then most important, having a place where you would apply the use of that technology. So I always say that there is a moment that usually when you're struggling, it's when changes in your life happen. And struggling doesn't mean that you have to go to like a really, really sad experience. In this moment, that I can say there was a before and after my research at the university and creating Didimo, was the fact that I put so much love and care in creating the application for these kids with autism, that after 3 years, a ton of people were using it, and technology started getting deprecated. And so we couldn't update it because it was funded project. So the project fund has finished, and suddenly, we had a technology that was helping others and was not going anywhere. So I was faced with a decision: either I was going to look for more European research fund for my lab, or in this case, I was very fortunate to meet an investor that said, what you have, you could create a company. And and that's when it took me about a year to really make a decision, right? Because I have Veronica, the researcher, right? I had this idea of, we have digital characters, it helped the life of a family, it can definitely help more people. And then it's okay, but if I do that, how does the future gonna look like? It was big question mark. So I took, as a good researcher, a little steps. So the first steps that I took was, I'm gonna test this technology. So I contacted Amazon, and Amazon said, all right, we would like to demo your technology. This was the gaming team. So I flew to San Francisco at the Game Developers Conference, and I contacted Amazon because they were just launching a new game engine to the market. And they said, this is incredible, best thing in show. Would you like to implement it for our engine? And I was like, check, awesome. We'll technology validated. So then with the investor, he says, okay, so ready to create a company. I was like, not so sure yet. We don't know if we have a business out of this. So we applied to Techstars. And within 1,500 applications, we were selected as one of the 11 companies for the Techstars in 2016. And that was the decision maker for me to say, all right, I will continue doing research, but let's just give it a try. And so it was slowly going from an idea that took many years on research of creating the different pieces of the technology to now giving the big jump into let's have a business out of it. So I applied for Techstars, got into Techstars, and moved to London for several months for Techstars. And that was the beginning of the Didimo journey, right? So, just to summarize, if I would say what makes me keep on going when I created Didimo, because one thing is just doing research, and another thing is just doing research, having a family, and building a company. I discover, if I start putting all those dots together from my previous life to now, is that if I close my eyes, all I care is about making a difference in the world in the area of learning and sharing. I love learning, but I like more sharing. And sharing in the sense of giving forward, in the sense of what we're doing here today. Hopefully you find it interesting in sharing a bit of how I did things to make sure others can benefit from it. And the ultimate goal would be to really get using the technology of Didimo to allow every child in the world to have access to education. You saw on my slides I was very fortunate to learn, but not everyone has the same opportunity. And if we can help others to access to education, we can slowly take them out of poverty. So that's my long-term, goal, and everything I do every day, I try the path to move towards that direction, right? Um, so now we get into what is Didimo. So at Didimo, we take a selfie of someone and we automatically create a digital human. So in this case, it's a very B2B deep tech company. And we expect, or what we want with this technology is to create the next interaction model. So especially with the pandemic, before the pandemic, people didn't even know what was a digital human. So they knew a little bit what was an avatar, but now everyone is talking about them. So what I strongly believe is in this digital world, 3D world, immersive world, metaverse world, a world where interoperability will become the norm, we will need a new element that would allow us to connect and interact, a new interaction model. And so what I think is that interaction model at the center, it will be a digital human that is going to be an extension of us. It will allow us to transport to a different dimension, but we will always own it. We will protect it, because in many cases, it will look like us. We can make it more beautiful, of course, if we want or not, but it will be our extension and our key for interacting in the digital space. So we have to really look after it. And that's what drives us at Didimo, besides the creation of the technology. So why we created it? We created so we can bring the richness of this human engagement to every digital interaction. What we want to do is create high quality digital characters super fast through our pipeline. And then we have a platform as a service. So people can connect to our platform, get packages and create digital humans and embed it into their own applications and build their own brands. So if one of the very first things I had to do is, for me, it was very clear, okay, what is the market problem? Creating digital humans is a luxury for Hollywood movies and AAA games. Very sequential process, extremely sequential, very expensive, hardware, software, artists, engineers. So it takes a lot of time. So if you see one of those very sophisticated digital characters that come out of Hollywood, they can cost about $500,000, $1 million to be created. And what we did is we pretty much automated the whole process in a one encapsulated step. So we managed to bring down that $500,000 or $1 million to create one digital character in one click, 90 seconds, for less than like $2 if you want to do it. So suddenly we are we are creating a platform that can streamline and scale the creation of digital characters. And with this, it's just a ton of challenges that I'm happy to answer in the questions later, which is we're bringing and creating a new market, right? There's no one has done it before. So what are the challenges? How do we know how to market a product that hasn't existed? How do you create a path toward bringing this product into the market? How do you build a team that believes so strongly in what you're doing that they will continue doing it? Because one thing is what I believe and what motivates me, and the other thing is what motivates others, right? So I'll give you a little glimpse. This is an animation in real time. Hopefully it streams correctly, running inside Oculus, and it's puppeteered by a mobile phone with an AR kit. So in real time, after like the 90 seconds of generating the digital character, you would be able to be embedded and immersed in any 3D world. So if we look pragmatically, what we offer is an API and an asset. That's our product, is a file that we are sending that hopefully is very impactful for different companies. So how does the future going to look like, or how do I see the future, right? So if someone would have asked me when I was at IBM, would I be here today? I had no idea and no clue, right? So but what I did always do was just follow what I like, and I loved education all my life, right? That's why I teach at the university. I teach even when I was a student at the university. I teach when I was a ski instructor. I always loved teaching, so that's kind of like on top of my summit, right? And the big question is, once you define that summit, that idea, that purpose, and that concept that you want to achieve, are you willing to spend 7 to 10 years to actually reach to the top? Do you know what actually getting to the top means? How would you feel when you get to the top, right? And then if you go backwards, what are the different camps that you will need in order to get to the top, right? So I think these are the critical questions that we got to think about when you decide to jump into going from your idea to making it happen. We have tons of ideas all the time. The question is, which will be your winning idea that you actually want to execute, right? And we need to execute it, because otherwise it will vanish, right? It will just go into the space and we will never see it again. And we cannot execute way too many. At least I cannot. I can only do one or two. So which one is yours? In my case, is I have very clear purpose. If I close my eyes, I know that if I will put a flag on top of that summit, it will say learn and share. And in order to be able to learn and share and allow everyone in the world to learn, I needed to create this digital human platform. So that mission is, how can I make the digital world more human? And in order to do that, it's, in my case, it's building digital characters that are as empathic as possible. We are like in camp 2 of our summit, and we draw this in like 2017, 2018, with the three first person in the team. We did this exercise where we said, okay, what are the initial components in order to create digital humans that are empathic? Well, we need to create the appearance of the 3D characters. We need to create how they will move. Then we need to create your emotional engine. Then we need to create the connectivity, and so on and so on. So which are the different camps? I believe that it's easier if you really know where you want to go, is how can you divided into those key milestones. And again, are you willing to do it for 7, 10, 7, 5, 7, or 10 years, right? And in order to make it happen, I think it's crucial to define your environment, the culture, right, that surrounds you. And for me, that means knowing my own values, because I know that they get amplified around me, right? So I know I can work well with people that have my own values. If they don't have the same values, then it's just gonna break down, right? We can talk about that in the questions if you wanna. I have a lot to say, in fact. And one other thing that really kept me strong to continue going into the summit is making sure that the people that are around me, they also care about doing the similar thing. So the attitude, the behavior, the way you're treated is with the people around you does matter a lot. And when I say people around you, it's not just the people at the company, it's all your surrounding circle, right? So are you surrounded by the people you really want to spend time with? Time is very limited, very precious. So choosing the people you want to spend it with, it makes a difference and matters. So if I summarize, so Veronica, myself, what are the values that identified me? And that's what I told you. A few of my stories is grit. I don't quit. And grit is a very positive and powerful word because it's doing something with passion and always looking forward. And then the other one is authenticity. And I think that comes a lot from my dad in particular. I really value transparency, honesty. I need to be surrounded by people that are authentic. And that's why, for me, creating Didimo with a lifelike digital human that I can see, it's an extension of myself. It's a digital character that I will respect and others will respect too. Then the idea, right, is what is that idea and how do you find ideas? Well, you gotta be super curious. Curiosity is a tremendous superpower. And based on research, we lose our curiosity. We start losing our curiosity at the age of 6 because we stop asking questions. At the age of 6, because of schooling, surrounding, and we're growing up, we start losing our superpower of asking questions. So when I learned this, I started even teaching it at the university. How do we make questions just to get back in the habit of asking questions? So curiosity is a superpower in order to be able to come up with those ideas that matters. And then passion, right? So the combination for building powerful ideas for me is this curiosity and passion. And our future, how do we build our reality, a company, a project, anything you want that comes out from an idea? Because remember, ideas alone, they will vanish. You got to make them happen. Is you got to have as much courage as possible to execute them, right? And you own them. It's your accountability. So courage. And for me, whatever I do, it has to have impact. So it has to impact someone else. And the invisible thread that actually makes this happen for me is always being able to think big, to think wild, to be super patient, be always extremely grateful, and always remember to giving forward. So, which is your summit? Maybe someone might want to share it afterwards in the questions. And thank you for listening. So I don't know now if I think we're still live, but I don't know if we have questions or how this now continues. Maybe Alice or Laura can jump in and help me out. So I think Alice is trying to come in. In the meantime, I can tell you another story if you want. So this is, someone once asked me if I can make an analogy of how my day-to-day life would be and what I think it's required in order to be an entrepreneur. The analogy I gave is I'm a skier, or I used to be a better skier. And I say, for me, being an entrepreneur, it's like being in the top of a mountain.
Hello, sorry.
Oh, Alice, that's okay. I was just telling a story in the meantime.
Yeah, I was trying to join, but I couldn't, I don't know why. It was impossible. Okay, technology. Thank you so much, Veronica, for your story. It was amazing and so refreshing to hear this, like from IBM to a ski instructor to Patagonia. I mean, it's really, really, really cool. And I've loved hearing it. I have tons of questions. We have tons of questions from the people as well. Okay, so let's start with a question from Ina. So how do you see the future role of avatars?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I have two answers for that. One is how I wanted to see it, and then what is gonna happen, right? So I do wish the avatars are used as I said, as an extension of us, so that we actually control it. So they open a different dimension. So we could use avatars for trying on virtual garments or outfits that we want to buy, or we can use our virtual digital humans to have a conversation that someone that speaks in a language that we don't know, because it could speak any language, or we can use it simply for representing us on a video game, or be inside a virtual concert and be playing with our favorite singers, or just DJing, right? So we have the fun and the entertainment piece, and the element that is for more social quality life enhancement, right? Because it could be used for healthcare, for instance, to give a face and a voice to a person that suffers from a physical disability. So like Steve Hawking's. So imagine if Steve Hawking's would have a digital human that could speak everything he was actually saying, right? So they're just two big different lines that could be used, digital avatars for.
Yeah, and Ina is adding another question. And do you see it used in or for educational purpose?
Absolutely. That's like what I mean, once we build the whole platform, that's where I want it to be used, in particular for education. If we think of countries that are completely isolated, or people that is isolated, if we have a digital human that can speak the language of the local country, and people have problems that they don't know how to solve because they lack the know-how, a digital character could come in because it has been fitted with the instructions and the learning, and then anyone can actually access for it. And it's 24/7, so you can scale it. Right.
And specifically in that matter, I was wondering, have you been, I guess you had, doing researches on the impact of looking at a face that is not a real proper human face for a child? I mean, what does it provoke? Can they really project themselves into it? Like, is there a gap, or do we feel that it's fake, or how does it work?
I don't know if I understood very well the question, but I'll try to answer what I understood. So there's one thing that is called embodiment. So when I see myself in a digital body, and I see the reflection of that digital body doing what I am doing, after some time, I can even feel I am in the body of someone else. That's how our brain works.
Okay.
So a great researcher is Mel Slater, who actually works on this area. I had the fortune to work with him in some research projects for many years. So that's how the brain works. However, in order to learning actually happen, you need to be able to do the mapping of yourself in your real self. So that's why having your own copy, right, or your own extension of your likeness is so important. And then something else happened, which is you become responsible in the digital space if you see that what's happening is you. If you are behind a stylized avatar, you can always change it, right? So this is more of a philosophical discussion, and I'm a techie person, right? So whatever I say, either is scientifically proved or it's just my opinion. So a lot of this is my opinion in the sense that I need to be responsible because I see myself in it. So the challenge is, how do we create environments that empower us with enough trust for putting ourselves openly in that virtual space and not behind an avatar, like a stylized avatar, right?
I
So
get it.
it's the building of that identity.
Yeah, responsibility. In terms of, so there is a question also. I think the answer is no, but still I'm asking. Maria is asking, do you also generate models for streets or building, or it's just human?
Oh no, we just work on digital humans, like faces and body. We could even do like cartoon and creatures, but we want to keep faithful to our focus, which is high fidelity digital humans as the next interaction model, as an extension of us to build that empathy and responsibility and trustworthy connection. So.
Okay. Another question. If I understood correctly, you can generate an avatar from a picture or a series of pictures.
One picture.
One picture is enough.
One picture is enough. What I showed you is just with one picture, one selfie.
Okay. What have you thought about the possible misuse scenarios where others might use these avatars to harm other people? Does it
Yeah,
happen?
so there is a lot of so first, before I answer, we have a Didimo and ethics committee. So we are funded also by the EU, and the EU is really good into promoting the thinking behind the dual use of technology. And our technology is really in the core of that it could be misused. So we have an ethics committee, not just to define our terms and conditions, but also we train people at the company, and we have internal workshops to discuss exactly these questions of dual use. So the short answer is there's honestly nothing I can do if someone goes to our platform, downloads the Didimo, even though our terms and conditions says what they say, and they do something bad. It's so the harm is always there. What I could do, and we've done that in the past, is reject projects that we don't feel aligned with our value as a company. So, but if they wish, they could still go and use the platform, right? But it will not benefit from the enterprise relationship. It's yeah, it's
On your website, I see a list of clients. For instance, there is Farfetch. How do they use it, Farfetch, for instance?
so they are an investor of ours, Farfetch.
Okay.
Yeah, we are working on projects in fashion in general, and what they do is we take a selfie, and they automatically create the 3D avatar of that person, and then the user can customize hairstyles, makeup, outfits. They can pretty much create their own outfit combination, and eventually they will be able just to share it on social medias or try on virtual garments. That's the use case most asked in fashion.
Cool. Let's go back a little bit because we still have some minutes about on the values. You've talked a lot about the values and that you found your purpose and that you need to be surrounded by people who share the same values. What are your values? You said you want to share and learn. This I understand.
that's like my purpose, right? My value is more authenticity. I would say that, and I have someone really dear to me that is has been my coach, and now works with us, but it continues doing like coaching with me. And for a long time, she helped me discover what they call limiting beliefs, right? So I find out that what are the triggers that actually make me lose it. And I found out that everything is related with authenticity. I really treasure people that is honest, and if that doesn't happen, then I just feel betrayed, right? And then it's very interesting how my core values are a reflection of what a Didimo could actually do. So then what we did at the very beginning at Didimo is identify, right, is authenticity, humbleness, being gritty, a lifelong learner, and always being a leader, right? So those five things are the things that when we interview and we continue interviewing, we look into people. So when we're bringing someone on board into Didimo, we're already bringing someone that we believe has all of those five things, or at least majority. And of course, they'll bring their uniqueness. So, your culture, what happens, it ends up being an amplification of my values, right? And then the important piece is, what do you do to live your values? So it's not about saying them. So for example, I really enjoy, and at least 2-3 times per year, having lunch with everyone at my team. And those 2 hours are the most precious hours that we can have, because you get to know people. And when you get to know people, you're building something with purpose, right?
How many people are part of the team today?
So we're 27 on and off.
27.
Yeah.
And these values, they are part of you, and the culture of your company is an extension of your own culture. They were already here when you were researching, and that
No, they weren't. No. So that's another learning. So yeah, because life evolves, and it takes a lot of willingness to really discover who you are, right? And then in my case, I had kids, so I wasn't the same person when I was a researcher, just a researcher, and when I created Didimo. I am forever thankful for Techstars, because when I arrived to London, after a week there, I felt I was back myself, kind of. I felt like before I was sort of lost. And when I was at Techstars, their philosophy is give first. That's their hashtag. And I felt I was back home with me. When I say home, it's like me, right? Everyone was caring about everyone else before themselves. And that's core to me. So it let me kind of like reset and gave me a second chance to do things the way it will make me happy. And therefore, if I'm happy, I can be happy with the rest. And I did some drastic changes. This is very personal, but like I stopped talking to a lot of people that I felt it was harmful for me.
You
Probably
cut
I didn't.
all of the toxic relationships, basically.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that direct, but yes, basically. And then something beautiful happened. I felt very lonely for like a long time, but then you start meeting new people, and you start meeting good people and nice people, and those nice people brings you nice people. And suddenly you learn better who you want to have quality time with. And it's mind-blowing, the internal shift. And I think it makes you a better leader, a better mother, a better wife, better everything. So for me, creating Didimo was an opportunity to to reset myself personally.
That's so cool. And I think it's totally the entrepreneurial path, actually. You reset yourself. There is one thing before we leave I wanted to talk about. It's your involvement in the nonprofit organization you started during COVID,
Paper Wings.
Paper Wings.
Yeah,
Can
thank
you
you.
say a few words about it?
Yeah, I'll be very short. So as I share, my passion of education, I always dream very big, and I was like, education for everyone. And I realized during COVID that I didn't needed to wait to have the whole platform of Didimo ready to start helping around my own ecosystem. And so we created Paper Wings to finance kids to go to university. So we do full paying tuition, but most importantly, we give them full mentoring during all the year and paid internships during the summer. And that's why I say give forward, because someone gave me that opportunity at IBM when I was 18, and 25 years later, I'm doing the same thing for someone else, and it bridges the future of education. So all at the same time, right? Learning the skills and foundations, with learning the more personal understanding.
It's paperwings.co. I'm sharing it with
Yes,
everybody.
www.paperwings.co. If someone who's listening wants to start the same initiative, email me, because we have all the protocols, all the procedures, and it's just copy paste if you're in a different country and you want to do it, or if you're in Portugal and you want to join. So more than happy to share. Like, we have lawyers everywhere. Like, it's very well set up. So it's just copy pasting the documents and translating into your home language. So,
Great. Veronica, it was a pleasure. I have to wrap it up. Really, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope we'll see you soon again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone that was listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.